Good morning, YouTube. It is 10 a.m. in the great state of Texas, and I hope everybody is staying cool out there because it's very, very hot in the state of Texas in August, and it's about 94 degrees in my workshop. So I hope all you woodworkers and hobbyists out there are staying cool. But anyway, back to our project for the week. So this week we're doing something similar to what we did last week. Last week we did a small basic little pot, and that's basically what we're going to be doing in today's video as well. But we're going to mix it up a little bit. Obviously we're going to change some colors. We're going to use like this green dye with this pink flake that I initially thought was going to turn out really, really cool. However, initially when I put it all together, it's not going to turn out exactly how I envisioned. So what we're doing up here is mixing about 24 ounces of resin, and I put the green dye in, and then I start adding the glitter, and it just turns into this dark olive drab type of color, and I'm initially not a really big fan of it. But, you know, we already used the epoxy. Epoxy is expensive, so I just decided to keep on going with the project, obviously. So if you guys watched last week's project, this is going to be essentially the same project. But I like making these little bowls, so it's always important to me to make something that I like to do. But 4.5 hours later in the pressure pot, get everything out, and I've got this like really dark yellow-ish green color, and I'm not a big fan of it. You can obviously tell by the tone in my voice here. I'm not a big fan of what this looks like initially, but I'm like, okay, it's not the worst color, I guess. And you can see it's still translucent. You can see through it a little bit, but I'm like, okay, the show must go on. We got to keep this going. So here we go. Started up by just taking our waste block like we usually do, and then just putting that on there, and then we're going to get this turned on to the lathe. So I started this project at around 9:30 in the morning yesterday when I started this, and it was already like 88 degrees in the workshop. And August typically in Texas is the hottest month of the year, and it got up to be 104 degrees yesterday. And I still like making these projects. However, you start to get a little dizzy in the workshop when it's about 100 degrees in the workshop trying to keep it all together. And I got shorts and flip-flops on. Don't recommend working with power tools with flip-flops. However, I needed to do something because it was super duper hot. I think I went through 6 or 7 bottles of water yesterday just trying to get this project done. And I'll be back in the workshop today, and it's going to be 105 degrees again because there's this table that I really need to finish. But anyway, back to the project. The great thing about working with epoxy in the summertime when it's that hot is basically it just melts off the chisels. So we didn't have any problems in this week's project. So once I get the chisels literally up against the epoxy here, it just kind of melts off. So we didn't have a lot of issues there. You can see it really didn't take us any time to get everything turned down, and now we're already working on the mortise, which is good. It's a good and bad thing because in spite of how easy it is to turn, you'll see a little bit later we're going to have some issues. Actually, I don't even think I recorded that part. I'll just go ahead and spoil it for everybody. So since it's so hot in Texas, what happens to the epoxy is that it ends up melting on any kind of friction. So later on in the video when I start to sand, the actual epoxy is going to become a lot more malleable, which makes it very hard for it to stay on the chuck when you have it reversed like that. But we still have a little while till we get to that point. But anyway, back to the video. So you can see here, everything's going relatively smooth here. We got it already reversed on the chuck, and then we're going to start our gouging portion here, which the reason why I like doing these smaller little projects is because gouging literally takes just a couple of minutes. It doesn't take a lot of effort, and you know, it's just an easy little project. And my lathe is getting old, and it tends to handle a little bit better when you just have smaller projects on there. If you guys have been watching my channel for any amount of time, you guys know that sometimes I'll get bold and put some bigger projects onto the lathe, and I'll just get a lot of rattling and a lot of vibration, which is not fun to do. If you're a woodworker out there and your lathe is dancing on your workbench, it's just not a fun experience at all. But this goes relatively smooth. It took us just about 10 minutes in total, I think, just to do the gouging portion here. And we switched it up between the larger and the medium-sized carbide tool, which was good. Felt really good against the chisels, the epoxy did, and didn't have a lot of issues there. So that's always a win-win for us, just checking the depth here. And now we're going to go switch on over to the lid. So you guys knew from earlier in the video The lid was obviously a lot bigger than the actual pot itself, so there's a lot of material to get worked down, and that part didn't take very long here. You could just see us trying to get used to how much material that we need to take off essentially here. And my big worry was not having enough room left to make a mortise, but I've gotten pretty good about doing this to where it's not really an issue at all. Once I get it down to like a nice depth that I like, then we can just stop. And again, since it's so hot, the epoxy is just like melting onto the chuck once I get it reversed. So once I tie it down on the chuck jaws, it takes a lot of effort to do because the epoxy itself is melting basically, and it doesn't want to cooperate. But we got that figured out. Doesn't take a whole lot of effort there, and now we're just sizing everything down to the actual proportion that we want it to, and then we can start sizing up the lid essentially. But you can see here, once we work the material down, the color kind of changes just a little bit here. And now that, oh sorry, you guys missed a very important portion of the video here. I forgot that it was so hot that my camera has a sensor on it that literally shuts off the camera once it gets too hot. And again, sorry for saying literally so much. It's just something that I do when I do these commentaries. But anyway, back to what I was saying earlier. It got so hot that my camera switched off, so we lost a little bit of footage in that last segment there. But I ended up just putting the camera into the refrigerator, letting it cool down for a little bit, and then it was fine. Not a whole lot of issues after that. But that's how hot it is here. It's about 94, 95 degrees inside the workshop when I'm doing this project, and the show must go on. So I need an AC unit. However, all of the wood dust would absolutely ruin any kind of AC unit that I would ever get. But we got the project essentially done there, and then you can see just all the wood shavings and everything all over the workbench. You can see that table in the background. I'm letting the sun come in, and this is what it looks like. Just all these shavings for this one little project. And sorry for the fogginess here in this shot, but once I took it out of the refrigerator, obviously the condensation kind of got on the lens a little bit, so it wasn't as clean as it should have been. But here we are sanding it, and this is probably the most difficult portion here because the piece kept on coming off of the chuck jaws because the chuck jaws couldn't grip onto it because it was just melting so fast. But got that all done. We went from 320 to 800, and then we just came back and hit it with a micro mesh. But the color looks really cool. I didn't think initially that the color was going to look all that great, but once we hit it with a wood wax, polished it up real nice, it came out really beautiful, I think. So essentially, project's done. This cool green olive drab color with a little bit of sparkle in it, I think looks really, really good. And I will be in the workshop working on yet another pot for you guys to watch. And again, sorry for all my stuttering and stammering this morning. It's about 8 o'clock when I'm doing this, so I'm not a very good YouTuber because I should have done this yesterday when I was a little bit more awake. But anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying all the new content we're putting out. I'm going to start doing a lot more YouTube shorts, so I think that'll be good for the channel. I like making just those short form videos as well. But this is the project after it's all done. It looks really nice and neat. The lid's a little bit bigger than the actual pot itself, but I think it looks really good. And then once you open it up, you can really see inside of it. But I think it looks really, really good. So hope you guys liked it. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you guys are enjoying all the YouTube shorts, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, guys. Peace. All right, so project is done, and this little guy came out looking really, really cool. I didn't think I was going to initially like the color. It was kind of just all like a really disgusting, like olive drab color. I'm not even sure what I'm going to call this in the title, but man, I think it came out really looking a lot cooler than last week's project. I thought I wasn't going to like it, but I ended up liking it, and it looks really good. Just a simple little green little pot. That's all this is. And it goes on nice and smooth, nice and snug. People at work are really commenting that they really like it. It is 94 degrees in my workshop, and it's barely almost 1 o'clock. So it's burning up in here. So anyway, hope you guys like this project. You guys are literally seeing this tomorrow, and I'm going to be working on some other things. I'm going to try not to pass out and dehydrate in here. Also, I'm going to be doing a lot more shorts on like projects that I'm going to be posting. So
That might get annoying, but it's my channel and I'll do whatever I want. So look out for that content if you're interested. If not, that's good too. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. I need to go inside, get some air conditioning, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, peace.